Well, good afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? Pretty good here, and welcome to the channel. Hey, I'm driving home from work today, and stop and go rush hour traffic. Right now it's go. For the first 5 miles it was stop. But anyway, I'm driving home right now. I'm in the Type R, and want to get on here and talk about whether or not this thing actually makes a good daily driver. You know, I daily drive it, if you want to call it daily driving, I guess, about 3 or 4 days a week to and from work. And my commute is about, I don't know, let's say 20 miles or so. And it's probably about, I'd say about 70% freeway, 30% back roads, somewhere in that area. So I get to experience both slower speeds and higher speeds when I can actually get up to them on the freeway in my daily commute. So I get a little bit of everything, I guess. And I'm kind of torn with the answer to this question, actually. You know, I love driving the R, but there's a couple things about it, I guess, that I don't like. The first one being those squeaky brakes. You know, the brakes on this thing, and I've talked about this before, and I know other people have too, but I don't know if mine are worse than other people's or what, but when I'm driving on the slower roads, in other words, I have to stop frequently, this thing just screams at you. And it screams so loudly that it's like something is vibrating from the noise that it makes while it's screaming, if that makes any sense. You know, there's flanges and covers and things around the brakes, around the wheels, the inner workings, if you will. And I almost think that the squeal that you get from these brake pads is loud enough to create a vibration in the metals around them, if that makes any sense. I've heard it. And it's a bit annoying, and I don't know if it just makes me self-conscious. I mean, generally, I really don't care what people think, but I think about it from my own perspective. You know, if I'm sitting at a light, I've got my window down or whatever, or I'm trying to hear something on the radio, and a car pulls up, and it's either very loud, like a muffler, which drives me nuts, or the brakes squeak so bad because they really need to have them replaced. I don't like that. So I guess when I'm the one doing it, bugs me even more, if that makes sense. So I don't like that. That's a drag. The other thing is the shifting. You know, I like driving a manual transmission. I learned how to drive in a manual transmission. But I must say, I don't like the constant shifting that you have to do in rush hour traffic. Especially if you're on a freeway that's bumper to bumper and, you know, you get up to maybe 25, 30 miles an hour. And then you got to hit the brakes and slow down because that's just the way the traffic is going. You know, that's a drag. I don't really like that. Nor do I think it's particularly good on the transmission and the clutch. I think obviously the more you have to use your clutch, the quicker it's going to wear out, right? So I always have that in the back of my mind, that I'm constantly shifting up, down, up, down, up, down. And I've mentioned that before. But I think when you pair that with the squeaky brakes that this thing has, that's my new name for it. It's the squeaky brake car. It's even worse, you know. Now, the other thing, I guess, I go out to lunch and I like to go grab something at a fast food joint or whatever, and then find a parking lot somewhere and relax. You know, get away from the office a little bit, you know. And this is a really stupid reason, but when you're in the Type R, you can't hide from anybody. You know, you're sitting in the parking lot and it draws attention, especially when you have it in this bright blue color that I have, you know. In addition to the styling and look of the car, people see it, they pay attention to it. Some people drive right next to it to make sure they get a good view, and I think a lot of times they're surprised that there's some guy sitting in there chomping on French fries, you know, because they kind of look over and then they, you know, quickly look away once they see that I'm looking at them. Excuse me. But there are some good things. You know, the car is relatively small, and in rush hour traffic, it's kind of fun to zip in and out of traffic as you're going. And I'm not saying, you know, one of those people that, you know, drives 10, 15 mile an hour faster than they should be, faster than traffic conditions warrant. But when you want to change lanes and move up a little bit or whatever, it does it quite nicely, and it's fun to do. It's got plenty of power, so when you want to get on it and zip up ahead of somebody or whatever, if you're trying to, you know, get in a different lane, it's really fun to do in this car. It fits everywhere too. You know, when I'm driving the truck, and it's a Toyota Tundra, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's a Crew Max, so it's the 4-door big giant truck. Sometimes, you know, parking can be a drag because it's so big, but not with the Type R. You can put it anywhere, and generally the parking spots that you're in are wide enough that you don't have to worry about some doofus beside you opening their car door into you or something. You know, there's plenty of room to stay away. I like that. The tech and the features and things that are in here, and I just discovered one a couple days ago. Generally, I don't use navigation when I'm driving back and forth to work, because by now, I hope I know where I'm at, right? But the other day, I thought, you know, I'm going to put the navigation on because I haven't really used it much, and I don't really know what it looks like. So I put it on, and it's giving me all kinds of information. It's giving me the speed limit, which is cool. I like that. It's telling me that there is congestion up ahead, an accident up ahead, slow traffic up ahead. I like that. It shows me on the screen all the different places to eat, and get gas, and get groceries, and I guess ATM. I'm looking at it right now. And that's pretty cool. I like all that stuff. I mean, that would be really handy if I were using it for what it should be used, you know, trying to go somewhere that I've not been before or I'm not familiar with. And all the rest of the tech on the car is cool as well. I mean, you've got Bluetooth everything and phone, and, you know, I like the radio in this car. I know some people have complained about it. Some people complained about the radio that was in the Sport manual that I had. That radio was very simplistic, but it made it easy to use and did everything you wanted it to do. This one is probably the polar opposite. It's loaded with technology. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. Has apps and you name it, all kinds of stuff. And that makes it fun for me. Now, I'm not sitting here driving down the freeway staring at the radio, but, you know, when I glance over or whatever, it's pretty cool to use. The last thing that's a positive in this car, I suppose, is the handling and comfort of the car. Surprisingly, and it was surprising to me when I first got it because I didn't know how the bolstering would be on these seats. I thought it might feel too confining after a while. You know, I went and sat in a Ford Focus, or not the Ford Focus, the Ford Focus RS. And that thing was so confining that it was uncomfortable. When I sat in that thing, it felt like my back never touched seat. I only sat against the edges, if that makes sense. That was not very good. Getting in and out of it, because the seats were leather, the bolstering on the side was so stiff that it didn't really give. You kind of had to lift over it. You couldn't kind of slide over it like you can in the Type R. And that makes getting in and out of this car much easier, I think, than a lot of cars that have the kind of bolstering that this does in the seating. The seats in this car, from a comfort standpoint, are far superior to the Sport that I had. Those seats, you know, I always felt after I sat in that for about an hour or so, and I did that rather frequently because of rush hour traffic and my commute. It felt like you were sitting on a board after a while. You know, they got pretty uncomfortable for me. But not so in this seat. I can drive in this car for an extended period of time and it doesn't bother me. It also has a little bit of lumbar support in the back, which I know you can't see because I'm sitting against it. But that makes it pretty comfortable as well. So anyway, before it gets dark out here, since it seems to get dark so early, you know, we're in that season, and it's cloudy because we're going to get weather or something, I don't know. Tomorrow morning's commute will probably take hours. I just wanted to get on here and talk about that a little bit, since I am in the Type R. Would I say it makes a good daily driver? I'd slant it slightly towards yes, but only slightly. I think if this were the only car I had and I had to drive this every day, I think I probably would get something else. It's fun, but I wouldn't want to drive it all the time. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching. Please give this video a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't before. And we'll see you next time on the web. Have a good day.